Good morning, my fellow warriors. Today our lesson is on walking with Jesus. Matthew 16:24 says, Then Jesus told his disciples, If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Did you get that word, deny himself? That's kind of hard for us to do sometimes, isn't it? Because we want to do what's good for us. Last night I was thinking about how the disciples walked with Jesus and how awesome that would have been to talk with him and walk with him and just be with him daily like they were. How blessed they were, I thought. And then it hit me. Am I not doing the same? Aren't we walking and talking with him daily? Yes, we are. But then I thought, but am I going where he is going? I have been praying in the mornings for the Lord to guide me this day. Each morning I wake up, I say, Lord, just guide me today. Show me what I need to do. Then I watch and listen where he is leading. If the thought of going somewhere or maybe going to someone's house, helping them or what have you comes to me or calling somebody, if that all comes to me more than once, then I believe God is guiding me as I asked. But what if we feel we should do something and the thought came to us more than once, but it's something we just don't want to do, so we don't? Then we become in rebellion with God, a dangerous place to be. I always tell my husband, no matter how crazy an ideal may seem, if we feel that it's coming from God, just do it. If we could get that in our mindset, our daily walk with Jesus would be such a blessing. I remember when I had a consignment shop years ago, and I had furniture in there. And I had a beautiful furniture sets. And a friend of mine, Mary, came in, and there's this green furniture set that she just absolutely loved. And boy, she'd come in there sometimes and say, "Oh, I just wish I could get that furniture set." So one day, it was just as clear as a bell. It was like the Lord said, "I want you to give her that furniture outfit." And oh my gosh, that boy, I shut that down in a hurry because I didn't want to hear that now. I'm already struggling here. I was barely paying the bills for the shop. And I'm like, no, I don't think I heard right. Well, it kept coming to me and kept coming to me. And my palms were actually wet with sweat, actually wet with sweat. And so I thought, no, there's no way. So I thought, well, I'll call my pastor and see what he says. So I call my pastor and he goes, well, is your shop fine? Is your shop prospering real well or is it or not? And I said, no, it's not. And he said, then I don't believe, Terry, that God would have you doing that. He said, I don't think he'd have you giving away something when you're not prospering. And I was like, oh, okay, okay. Well, that's kind of like what I was thinking. That's what I was hoping anyway. So I hung up the phone, but I still didn't have that peace. I still had that feeling, give her that set. And I was like, oh, Lord. So then I thought, well, I'll call the other pastor. And if he says not to do it, then I'll know I don't have to do it. So I called my pastor previous before him. And I talked to him about it. And he says, Terry, he says, if the Lord's telling you to do something, you need to do it. He says, and if you do it, trust me, you'll be blessed because it's a test that you will have passed. And I was like, oh, yeah, but he says, it don't matter. You just listen and do it. Well, I didn't. Long story short, I just couldn't. I just couldn't make myself do it because I just struggled in that place anyway. And that was a hard, hard test for me. And I regret it because I truly feel that if I would have done it, I would have prospered. And the way it went is I closed it like a month or two later. I shut it down. So, but, it's just saying that when God tells us to do something, just do it. Even if it sounds crazy or just off the wall, just do it. The disciples walked with Jesus physically, and we walked with him spiritually. So we listened to him like they listened to him. If he said, go do something, it's like when he told his disciples, go and get that colt. You'll see it tied up. Follow them, what have you. I would have been like, now they'll get me for stealing that colt. And you know how we do as humans. But anyway, Jesus and his disciples' walk was not easy. And ours will not be easy. Their walk sometimes, they'd walk for days. They'd be tired and hungry and even fearful, of what the Sanhedrin and all them might do to them. And all the emotions that we have as well, they had. We have what they had too. And so Matthew 8:20 says, the man says, okay, Jesus, I'll follow you, but let me go and do this first. And so he was kind of torn between the world and Jesus. Jesus needs someone who is totally into him, who's totally going to follow him no matter how crazy it sounds. So he tells this guy who is kind of wishy washy, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. So he was just explaining to this guy, look here, this is the hardships and the lack of earthly possessions that come along with this ministry, actually comparing himself to being homeless because he was. So many times Jesus and his disciples would sleep by the roadsides. They'd eat day old bread. They were dusty, sweaty. You get the picture, right? So we have to realize when we truly walk with Jesus, there will be times we too sacrifice our freedoms to go and do as we please in order to go and do as he pleases. We must give up self will to his will. Self will is when we choose what we want to do for him. Oh, I've seen so many people do that. There'll be only a certain person that they want to help, but they don't want to help this person over here. They pick and choose what they want to do for God. That is self will, maybe for the area we would get the most attention for. But God's will is when we go and do as he chooses for the most of the attention to be for God. We should pray over each thing we are choosing to do for him to let us know whether it is our will or his will. The great thing that Jesus also tells us in Matthew 11:28-30 says, come unto me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So many times our self-will is a lot more tiresome than God's will. So let's choose God's will as we walk the walk with our Savior, going where he goes, doing as he does. And though at times life won't be easy, but we have our Savior walking right beside us, always there for us, guiding and directing us. So let's walk with Jesus every day. Let's do his will and not our will. Okay? All right. Love you, folks. Be blessed. Be safe.